What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the Grind Time Shop for another installment of 2021 commonly asked screen printing questions. And today, we dive deep into a question that plagues, I think, every new screen printer at some point in time. What are all these different ink types, and which one should I be using in my shop? Well, let's find out. Hey, and welcome back, y'all, to the Grind Time Shop. And today we are answering a question that we asked ourselves a lot in the beginning. I think every screen printer asks a lot. What are all these different ink types, and which one should I be using? Because it's incredibly confusing, and sometimes it can be a little, you can be a little uncertain of what you should be using in your shop. So we're going to cover the three main different types of ink today. Hopefully it's going to get y'all a little bit better prepared for what you need to do in your shop. If you made it this far at this point, why don't you go ahead and smash the mess out of that subscribe button. Go ahead and leave a like on the video. It helps out a ton with helping us reach other people, and we appreciate y'all stopping by yet again. So let's cover this thing. So the first type of ink that we'll be discussing today is plastisol ink, which is arguably the most common, the cheapest, the easiest to use, and you see it, I feel like, most often across screen printed garments. If you're buying a screen printed t-shirt from your big box store or local grocery store or pharmacy or something, and they've got tons of them, chances are they were printed with plastisol ink. And there's a few reasons for that. Like I already said, plastisol ink is cheap, it's easy to work with, but it also doesn't dry until it's actually heat cured. This is majorly important when it comes to actually printing the job. Plastisol ink can actually be left on or in the screen, and you don't pose a risk to the ink drying in your screen while you take a few minutes to fold shirts or pack a job. Another big advantage to plastisol ink is it just looks really good. I mean, it lays on top of the garment, and it doesn't actually go very much into the fibers of the shirt. The colors are very vibrant, and it's very sturdy once it's actually cured. Plastisol ink makes up about 90% of what we do here in the Grind Time Shop. We definitely recommend checking it out if you're looking to get into bulk screen printing. The second type of ink that we're going to be discussing today is going to be water-based ink. And yeah, it's got water in it. With water-based ink, you're going to use a much higher mesh screen than plastisol. Water-based ink's high water content actually allows it to seep into the shirt and really absorb into the fabric of the garment. This differs from plastisol in the sense that instead of laying on top of the actual shirt, it is inside the fibers, so you're not getting as much of that hand touch. This high water content also means, however, water-based inks are incredibly quick to dry. This can be an issue when it comes to taking that quick second to fold up some shirts or pack a job real fast, prep the next one. You're going to want to make sure that you're always leaving your screens flooded when you're walking away, even for the smallest period of time. Don't walk away long. Be back quickly, and as soon as the job is done, make sure you pull those screens off. You get all the ink out of it, because when it dries in your screen, you will be faced with some major issues, and you don't want it. So just make sure you always are minding the fact that this water-based ink dries very quickly. Water-based ink can also require a different type of emulsion, so make sure that you check out your emulsion to see if it's suited for plastisol, water-based, or a combination of both. And curing is going to be probably one of the largest differences we're going to run into between plastisol and water-based ink. With plastisol ink, we cure anywhere between that 260 to 325 degree mark, depending upon your ink. And you want to definitely let it dwell for, a minimum of 35-40 seconds, just to make sure that the ink on the bottom actually gets up to temp. With water-based inks, however, the cure time takes quite a bit longer, so you need to make sure that you're set up with either a long chamber dryer, conveyor style, or at least the option to be able to run shirts through a couple times without bottlenecking yourself, because these things need to get to about that 320 degree mark. But with water-based inks, you actually need to get to that 320 degree temperature mark for 2 to 3 minutes. So this is significantly longer cure times than what we're used to dealing with in plastisol. Just make sure that you're always accounting for that and adjusting for that, testing your prints before they go out the shop, and wash testing them as well to make sure that they're fully cured. The last type of ink that we'll be discussing today, and definitely the most interesting, is discharge inks. Discharge inks are low solid water-based inks, but there's a few differences, mainly in the extra added ingredients. The discharge activator actually strips away the dyes from the garment and returns it to its natural fiber color. These natural fibers typically are not going to be white. They'll be a light sandish, light brownish color. However, this is extremely helpful when it comes to printing multicolored jobs on dark colored garments. With mixing a small amount of discharge ink into your traditional plastisols, you can actually strip away the dark dyes from a black colored t-shirt, eliminating the need for you to use a white underbase when printing the actual colors. When printing with discharge ink, it's very similar to water-based in the sense that it's actually absorbed into the t-shirt, and this gives it that no hand touch quality that's really one of the most desirable traits of discharge. When working with discharge inks, you definitely want to make sure that your studio and space is properly ventilated. The inks that you use for discharge are pretty harsh and are definitely not something that you want to be breathing in for long periods of time. Make sure that you have a good open source of air, good ventilation, and if you are in any doubt whatsoever, always wear a respirator or ventilation mask. When printing with discharge inks, it is important to note that you must use 100% cotton garments. In some cases, it can be used with certain blends, but in order to strip back down to the natural fibers, you need to be working with an organic fiber. So 100% cotton is going to be your best friend when it comes to discharge inks. Another thing to remember when you're working with discharge inks is that the discharge actually responds differently depending upon the level of active dyes that are in the t-shirt color you're working with. Things like reds are going to be a lot harder to work with, so you're definitely going to want to take your discharge inks, test them out on different colored t-shirts, and make sure that you know how it's going to react before you quote this out to a job for a customer, or before you decide that you're going to print something new for your shop or clothing line and you want it to look a certain way. But with all that being said, as you can see, there's a ton of different options out there for screen printers getting into this as far as the inks that can be used. Plastisol, like we said, big fan favorite around here at the shop. Water-based ink, definitely really cool. Discharge, maybe one day if we can ventilate the dryer out of here. But super exciting, and definitely something that you can use to spice up the prints or the jobs inside of your shop. Hopefully this information's given y'all some insight into the different types of ink and what you should be using in your shop. We appreciate y'all coming back to the Grind Time channel, hanging out. Again, if you've made it all the way to the end and you haven't smashed the mess out of that subscribe button, giving the video a like, go ahead and do that real quick. We really appreciate your time. Thank y'all for hanging out, and we'll see y'all soon. Peace. We out.